I'm going to turn it over to the editor of Three Hole Press, Rachel Cowder-Nailbuff, to introduce this evening's playwrights. Thank you so much, Rachel.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me without the mic? Should I use it? Is this better? This is better. Okay. Thank you all so much for coming. It's really exciting to see many of you that I know and many people that I don't. Many people that I know who are in the theater world. Many people that have nothing to do with theater. Maybe some people that even dislike theater. And I want to welcome all of you because Three Hole Press is new, so I want to tell you a little bit about it. And it grew out of my frustration with the siloed nature of the artistic conversations that happen within theater. And I see the press as a home for artists and people outside of the theater who are looking towards theater, and playwrights and artists working within theater and looking out to the wider world and other culture. And I think that's what makes Aleshea Harris and Alex Borinsky such exciting and important playwrights, is that they're doing that. I was thinking a little bit about what makes their plays particularly meaningful and important to read. And I think, for me, it's what I think makes theater most beautiful, which is its openness to interpretation. And that's something that I think is so often invisible in live performance, because by the time a live performance reaches us, the decisions have been made about aesthetics and casting and tone and even meaning of a work. And so what makes these plays important to read and look at is that both Alex and Aleshea's work really generously, I think, sits with openness and different kinds of, letting different kinds of interpretations stand side by side. And they feel like conversations with the reader, I think, as much as a viewer. I just had this really wonderful experience of hearing Aleshea's play Is God Is, which just won the Relentless Award, which is really amazing. So it was just read at the ceremony in New York, and it was so wonderful and exciting. And I was sitting in the back row, and I was like, "You guys don't know what it looks like on the page. You're missing so much." So I think these works really benefit from extended time as a reader, and they feel like conversations with readers. So in addition to hearing the excerpts that you're about to hear from the playwrights, I hope that you spend some time looking at the books afterwards, because they're conversations with you. So I am so happy to be introducing Alexander Borinsky, who is a playwright. Oh, phew. And performer originally from Baltimore. This year, he is an artist in residence at University Settlement, where he is exploring dancing and labor and making a piece about classrooms. In June, Clubbed Thumb will present his play Of Government as part of their annual Summer Works Festival. He has collaborated on projects in bedrooms, backyards, basements, bars, and theaters. Alexander Borinsky.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, everybody. This is good. You can hear? Okay. I thought I'd just read a little bit of the play. It starts off with this guy, Julian, and his mom looking out over America. "Look," says the mom. "Julian, you're my kid. I'm your mom. Look. Look out at all this. Look at the crumbled highways. Look at the overpasses pulled up like weeds and lain on their sides. Look at all the big box stores. Their roofs have been peeled back and big fistfuls of their merchandise strewn across the parking lots. Look at the buildings with their windows punched in like popped eyeballs. This is it. Look at it. Just look. What a shame. What a waste. We've come to the end. We'll have to clean it all up. Look at the bodies of the drowned. Look at the waterlogged trailers. Look at the mud. Everything covered in mud. Look at the last gasping fishies. There will have to be some cleaning up of this for sure. Or maybe it's the end, nothing to do. Or maybe we can clean it up. Look, Julian. And that's just a fragment. So then we go to book 6, which starts with Julian and his mom in their house. Mom? Yeah, Julian? What do you want? Do you want mac and cheese? What do you want for dinner? Oh, I can't decide. I've been having this problem all day. Do you want me to decide for you? Maybe. No, I don't know. Just relax, Julian says. I'll get you some seltzer. I'll make mac and cheese. Thank you, sweetie. Will it bother you if I turn on the news? No, that's fine. A deadly fire in Oliver today, plus hope in the form of a puppy drive at the children's hospital. All that tonight on Not Too Much Butter, Honey. And out of nowhere, this other person, who's the sort of third person of the play, Dan, DT, arrives. Hi there. This is where I arrive. I arrive. Plucked from a prison. Elsewhere, a prison. A whimsy, a wish, the fact that I'm here to be a part of this story. How should you know me? Maybe you can know me as a bad person. A very bad person, yes. A villain. I blew up a bomb. I blew up a bomb. Oh yes, I'm very bad, very, very bad. I'm a monster. Oh yes, I'm young. I'm a kid. I'm a 20-year-old little boy. But I blew up a bomb. I blew up a bomb in a big city, a pressure cooker. There were nails, no one saw it coming, legs ripped off, and arms, 3 people dead. It was all over the news. The city was reeling, but here I am now. They caught me. They locked me away, but here I am now, plucked from the ether. I'm a part of this story. This is how I arrived, just like that, a whimsy, a wish. I could be anybody. You might know me, you might not. You can know me as, this very bad little kid. You can call me Dan. Then we're back with Julian and his mom. That was so good, honey. That mac and cheese was so good. Thank you for that. Of course. I'm going to go upstairs, sweetie. Sure. And then Julian and Dan are walking through the streets of Baltimore. So you don't know the city, Julian says. No, says Dan. How long have you been here? I really just arrived. Well, I'll have to show you around. I love giving people tours. Mom alone in the kitchen. What are we going to make of this American kingdom? Julian and Dan on the street again. Baltimore is a very multicultural place. Italian people and Polish people and Hispanic people and black people and Asian people and Indian people. I have this project where I want to make a quilt of the city with a patch for every single community. That's cool, says Dan. I know, right? Just because I grew up looking like I do doesn't mean I can't see the whole big picture. Then we're back to Mom alone in the kitchen. I sit on matching floral pillows and consider the contours of our national economy and cultural constructions of trauma. When the mailman comes by, I know his name. Julian and Dan again. They call this part of the city Little Connecticut. Just north of here is Little Calcutta, and just east of here is Little Bangkok. And believe it or not, the best Mexican restaurant in the city is right here in Little Connecticut. Tacos Mexico. My mom's friend is the manager. I hang out here a lot. Everything important in my life happens here at Tacos Mexico. I have a project where I'm collecting books for the kids in the hospital downtown. I've talked to some managers and put boxes in a couple of places. There's one over there. Tanya will bring us tortilla chips and 3 kinds of salsa. I like the green kind. How do you feel about salsa? I feel good, says Dan. Mom again. I want my long-anticipated flowering of opportunity. I want plants overflowing their planters. For now, I am balancing my checkbook. I am paying down my credit card. I am washing my dishes as soon as I use them. When I go by the library, I'm trying to expand my horizons. Julian and Dan again. I have a thought. Tell me what you think. Perhaps we could start telling each other the details of our lives, and from there we can hunker down to the business of being friends. What do you think? Sure, sounds good. I was in my high school marching band, Julian tells him. I was good at Latin and at Spanish. I'm interested in goodness. I work in an organic grocery store. I make sandwiches. Do you want to order food, or I'm okay for now? You're welcome to come back home with me later. I have a boyfriend. I should tell you that. He's younger than I am. You must be younger than I am. I was born in 1985. When were you born? 1993. Oh my God. Still, I think we can be connected in spite of our difference in age. I live with my mom, which, no, it is what it is. She'll cook something good. Do you want to do that? Sure. I'll call my friend Mia. She's fun. Now they're home with Mom. I know I said I would cook, but I was craving Tacos Mexico, so I ordered out. Is this going to send you to a psychologist? No, Mom. This is Dan. Oh, hi, Dan. I met Dan. No, I don't think you met Dan. I didn't meet Dan? Hi, Dan. Hi. Maybe you just look familiar. Could be. Skip ahead again to Julian and Dan alone later. Tell me what I can do to help you, Julian says. You're really nice. I'm working on letting go, this is Dan, on relaxing into my everyday life. It comes slowly to me. We live in hard times. Times are hard on the streets, in the buildings, up above, down below. This is a dark era. Everywhere is bright. Everything is moving, but we're living under a shadow. Gravity isn't just down anymore towards the center. It's sideways towards the buildings. It's hard. A lot of people are having a really hard time. I'd like to get better at letting certain things go. I love in short little bursts. I'd like to get better at loving people for a long time. Yes, says Julian. Yes, I think you're like me. We're just very sensitive people. We all have some things we could be working on. Would you like some lotion? I'm okay, says Dan. This stuff is good. It's not too oily, and I like the smell. And just then you looked at me in a way, Dan tells us, the audience, that I'm going to remember a long time. You looked at me like I was, deep down, a trivial person. Then the marching band appears, the school marching band. And they say this, "Ha! We can tell it's going to be a very good season. We can tell this season we're going to kill it. We can tell this season we're going to be into Mexican food. We can tell this might be the year we take home gold. We're excited about our freshmen. We're excited about our sophomores. We're excited about our juniors. We're in love with our seniors. We might work a couple of new numbers into our repertoire. Out with the old, in with the new. Last year was a difficult year. This year's going to be awesome. We can tell. Don't look back. Crack is whack. Hardcore day after day." Julian and Dan again. "If you ever need a place to stay, you can stay over at my house. I know not everyone always has a place to go. That's something I'd like to improve about our world. I'd like it if we welcomed all sorts of people into our homes." Dan says, "Thank you." Julian, "How do you express yourself?" Dan, "I write poems sometimes. Sometimes I do drugs." Julian, "Cool, that's very cool." I want to read just the very beginning of this Dante book. "In that part of the book of my memory, before which there would be little to read, is found a chapter heading which says, 'Here begins a new life.' It is my intention to copy into this little book the words I find written under that heading, if not all of them, at least their significance. 9 times already since my birth the heaven of light had circled back to almost the same point when the now glorious lady of my mind first appeared to my eyes. She was called Beatrice by many who could not have possibly called her by any other name. She had been in this life long enough to allow the starry heavens to move a 1/12 of a degree to the east in her time. That is, she appeared to me almost in the beginning of her 9th year, and I first saw her near the end of my 9th year. She appeared dressed in the most noble of colors, a subdued and decorous crimson, girded and adorned in a style suitable to her years. At that moment, and what I say is true, the vital spirit, the one that dwells in the most secret chamber of the heart, began to tremble so violently that even the least pulses of my body were strangely affected. And trembling, it spoke these words, 'Here is a God stronger than I, who shall come to rule over me.' At that point, the animal spirit, the one abiding in the high chamber to which all the senses bring their perceptions, was stricken with amazement, and speaking directly to the spirits of sight, said these words, 'Now your bliss has appeared.' At that moment, the natural spirit, the one which dwells in the part where our nourishment is attended to, began to weep, and weeping said these words, 'Alas, wretch that I am, from now on I shall be hindered often.' Let me say that from that time on, love governed my soul." And then one last little section from a little further on in the play, Julian and Dan hanging out together. Julian says, "Now that we're high, is there any more information we need to exchange? This is really nice. I'm starting to feel it. I don't really believe in information as a way to get to know people, but maybe there are certain facts." Dan, "Well, I've got this big thing, the main fact. I blew up a bomb. It's kind of a long story." Julian, "I know. I read about it in the paper." Ooh, Dan, "You know, I used to sell this stuff in high school. And what's it called? Molly?" "Molly, yes, this is my first. It's nice. It's really nice. I'm really starting to feel it." "Yeah? Yeah, it's a tingling, and I started selling these in 10th grade, and I got stuck without a re-up once, and I risked it and made up little pills with baking soda. It's like my cells are all peppermint, and people liked it. They kept telling me how good these were, and so after that I just sold baking soda, and I was just making so much more money. And I'm hearing in color, it's like, this is so nice. I'm really starting to feel it. So yeah, these are actually baking soda. It's, what? These are just baking soda. Dan, I'm kidding. No, these are good. These are good stuff. I'm going to be in jail for a long time. I know, says Julian. Do you think eventually I'll be able to start again? Do you think I could have a second career? Do you think I could be a musician? I think so. I really think so. I could help you. There's so much we're capable of that we don't know. And for a while, they just looked deeply into each other's eyes. Thank y'all. One more important piece of business is I get to introduce Aleshea. Aleshea, as we heard, won the 2016 Relentless Award for Is God Is. She lives in California and teaches in the School of Theater at California Institute of the Arts. And tonight her work will be read by Shayna Simmons, Ari Flynn Bolden, and Madeline Rochester.
Characters: Racine, African American, a woman of 21 years, identical twin sister to Anaya, has burn scars on her arms, back, and neck, but a face of considerable beauty. Anaya has burn scars on her arms, face, and neck, hard to look at, wears a wig. Scene 1, a blazing inferno. Out of the fire step Anaya and Racine, a studio apartment in the Northeast. Anaya rubs the scars on Racine's back with ice as the fire subsides.
Twins. Burning them burning twins at home in their apartment in the Northeast, New York, or Hampshire, or Jersey.
Or something like that. Somewhere that don't feel right.
Twins. Racine is the rough one who still got some pretty to her. She only got the scars on her back and a bit creeping up the rear of her neck. You can barely see them.
Anaya wasn't so lucky. Face looked like it melted and then froze. Mostly people don't let their eyes meet hers.
Scene used the handle of a rake to shut Tommy Danson up in the 7th grade when he called Naya a bad name. That's the kind of roughness she got.
Naya is trapped in a prison of sweetness. Girls so ugly don't get to be mean.
Scene does, though. She got both their mean. Got something today.
Naya's too tired for this. She work in a warehouse packing cold things into boxes all day. She's too tired for this.
In the mail. Got something. News.
Naya keep her head down out of habit. Oh yeah? I got news too.
This big, though. Got a letter with some news in it. Big news.
Letter from who?
From Mama.
From who?
From Mama.
Who mama?
Our Mama.
We got a mama?
We do.
Too tired for this. I thought she was dead.
Well, she ain't.
I thought she was dead in the fire. Same fire that put these marks on us?
Well, she ain't.
Well, what she want? Where she been?
You getting all worked up. Switch.
Anaya sits. Racine rubs ice on Anaya's scars.
She wanna see us. She been in a place for sick people who old.
Old folks home?
I think so.
Takes an envelope from her pocket. Reads.
Folsom Rest Home for the Weary. 2115 Pluckham Drive, Oscarville, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Dirty South, 395-823-13650-849.
That's where she at?
Yep.
Damn. That's where she been at?
Seem like it.
Damn.
Hey, twin.
Yeah?
Seem like we gotta go to where she at.
Go?
Yeah.
But we don't know her and she don't know us.
She know our names and she know how to find us. We gotta go see her.
Well, why she ain't come to see us in all these years? Ask about us.
Only one way to find out. Let's go.
Now?
Yep, right now, cause she finna go.
Where is she finna go?
Die.
Die?
Yep, says so in the letter.
Damn, see?
I know it.
She only wrote to you? She ain't write me?
Ain't but my name on the envelope, but she talk about you.
Why ain't she write me?
Maybe because she knew you'd be all emotional.
Me?
Yeah, you. Even though she ain't been around us, she probably got an intuition about it. Mamas be knowing stuff like that. She can probably sense how you be getting all emotional and sad, sacky.
I don't be.
You do.
I don't.
Do. You cried about that kitten we couldn't get out of the engine. The one that died?
It died because you wasn't patient enough to coax it out.
Had to get to work. You cried. Remember? All emotional.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I do be all emotional sometimes.
Like a little punk.
Yeah. Ha ha.
Like a little bitch.
Okay, now you're taking it too far.
I'm playing.
I got stuff to do, though. I gotta meet up with Ellis and tell him about something.
Ellis who? Oh, him.
Yeah, we supposed to meet up.
Scene, sigh, and roll her eyes like, here we go again about that man she met online. What you gotta meet up with him for?
We supposed to meet up and talk about the future?
Scene, bite her tongue. Switch.
They switch positions, and Anaya is now applying ice to Racine's scars.
You love him?
No, but I don't want him to leave.
Then do what you gotta do to keep him.
You don't like me to look at him when we doing it.
So don't look at him. Put your pride away. Some of us don't get to have pride.
True.
So let him get it from behind. If you look at him, he might start to catch feelings.
True.
And we ain't got time for being weak with feelings for no man, Naya. We got things to do. She waiting on us.
She finna go, huh? Go die?
Yep, she finna go, so we gotta go.
Damn.
I know.
Well, I guess I'll catch him later.
That's right. You can catch old dude later. We need to look good, since this kind of like our first and last time seeing her, don't you think? I'm finna dress up. I'm wearing lipstick and all.
I'm gonna put me on some too.
And a dress.
You don't never wear dresses. You be on that boho, I'm so pretty I ain't gotta try shit.
Yeah, but this is mama we talking about.
I feel you.
They are both getting prettified.
That lipstick real red.
Yep.
Like how it feel to know she coming and going.
You look good.
Thanks. Think
I
she'll
think like it? Yeah.
Scene 2. The twins stand before an immense door.
We in it. This is it. Folsom Rest Home for the Weary. 2115 Pluckham Drive. Oscarville, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky. Dirty South 39582313650-849. Room 416B. And a sign with our names on it. She must have did that so we know we was in the right place.
My name ain't spelt right.
Oh, come on, Naya.
You think she's still alive?
Only one way to find out.
My mascara running?
A little.
It's hot.
Yeah, Dirty South stay hot.
You ready?
To see God?
God?
Well, she made us, didn't she?
You gonna get struck down.
Anaya. Racine. That y'all?
You go on in.
You first.
I can feel y'all out there.
Firstborn is the first one in.
That's stupid.
You wasting time.
She is wheezing. She lies on her deathbed. She huffs, coughs, and struggles to breathe. Her voice comes out in hoarse rasps.
I'm so glad you could make it. Had the nurse put a sign out by my door, a sign with your names on it. See it?
Yes, Mama. We really like that sign. We seen it.
My name ain't spelled right.
Good. Let me look at y'all. Okay, I see. Anaya and Racine. Used to put y'all in opposite clothes so I could tell you apart. Anaya, you was always in tropical colors. And Racine, I had you in pastels. No matchy-matchy for my girls.
That's nice. Now, I like tropical and Naya like pastels.
That's a lie.
Shut up. So, how you been?
Oh, you know, dying.
Yeah. I see you got them tubes in you. We came as soon as we could. Had to take off work, but we here. I work at a daycare and Naya work in a warehouse. She got a boyfriend.
That's a lie.
She got something else, too.
Ma'am?
Nothing. She quiet.
Hi, Mama.
I ain't wrote you, Naya, 'cause you be getting all emotional. Been that way since you was little. I know. I ain't want to upset you.
I know. Thank you.
My girls.
Yeah.
My baby girls.
Yep. That's us.
Y'all are looking at the last days. I keep telling myself, Ruby, this might be your last Thursday. Your last time waking up in this bed. Your last time thinking it's your last time. Y'all got so big.
Yeah, been 18 years.
Yep.
We thought you was dead.
That's what I wanted y'all to think. I want a mommy with a body looking like an alligator.
Why you got a body like an alligator?
'Cause of what he did.
He who?
They ain't told y'all.
Nah, they just said you was dead.
So we a little confused because you alive, but you ain't write us or nothing.
But we ain't really worried about all that.
18 years. Been 18 years.
Was that an awkward pause? All you know is it was a fire and your mama was gone, huh?
That's
Yeah.
pretty much what they told us.
Well, I'ma tell you, there's more.
That was such a cliffhanger to end on. Now you'll all need to read the play. Alex and Aleshea, why don't we come up here? And we're just going to have a few-minute chat about these plays, and then we'll hang out. Yeah, and then we'll take we'll take some of your questions too. But I want to know. We had a book launch in New York, and we had one of my favorite things to learn about was just hearing about Alex and Aleshea's process for these plays, because, do you have your copy? I just want to show people. Because I think Alex and Aleshea have come to theater for very different reasons, and their work both really considers the page. You could just open it to any page, really. And so I wanted to hear from both of you why, sort of your writing process. Do your other plays look like this? And what was your experience of writing this play?
I think my other plays do not look like this. I was working on a play, and because I was scattered and disorganized, was bringing in new pages to the rehearsal process, and some of them were formatted differently, and they were formatted with less space between the lines, and I realized that it made the actors speak more quickly. It just changed the tone and rhythm of how they were speaking, and so there was something about wanting to smush all the language together. There's something about having lines continue from the end of one character's line into the next one that I feel like keeps the speed that I feel like this play needs to move at, and there's something about... So some of it is like in performance learning, like how that affects performance, and some of it is just, I feel like I was just talking to Craig about this person earlier. Renee Gladman, this poet I love, has some of her books the text is squished into a column, and you can feel it's like when a liquid becomes a solid, like the language becomes a different kind of object when it's formatted that way, which sounds sort of like silly and vague, but I feel like it's really a concrete thing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Yeah.
So, my other plays don't look like this. I'd sort of flirted with playing with typography just a little bit, but this one I really liberated myself and just went sort of wild. And I was influenced in terms of the performance of the language on the page by the work of visual poets, including my mentor, Doug Kearney, who also teaches at CalArts. And also there's this graphic version of The Bald Soprano by Ionesco, where the language is really dancing all over the page, which I've always found really exciting. So I guess my sort of mandate was like, if I were to do that, if I were to just liberate myself from the conventional way of laying language out on a page, what might that look like?
Cool. Okay, well, I wanted to also hear you guys talk about your influences. So if there are people that you mentioned a few people just now, and I'm curious, are there other people that you are always in conversation with you as you're writing, or you're thinking about now as you're writing your new projects, whether they're in or outside the theater?
I would say that I feel like there are clusters of people around each play and each project that feel like they're the voices in the ear. And this, Renee Gladman is one of them for this play, and Amina Kane is one of them. There's something about being ill at ease in your body in the world that feels like is captured by her writing. And Danielle Dutton, who is also an editor of this amazing press, Dorothy, has this book called Sprawl about suburbia that the way she uses verb tense is so exciting. It's like there's something about the fact of present versus past tense, of continuous present tense language that feels inherently dramatic to me, because when I'm standing here in front of you saying, like, I'm brushing my teeth, I'm trying to make it to work on time, you're looking at me and I'm not doing either of those things. And there's like a weird melancholy dissonance that happens when I'm speaking a present tense language. So I feel like in that book, Sprawl, is a very special book to me. And and then Fanny Howe, who writes a lot about violence and mental health as sort of like a disconnect from society. I feel like she's in this book. Yeah.
How about you? Yeah.
Many spaces of influence for this book. I also, so there were a few mandates. Another was like, if I were to write a tragedy that was like an ancient Greek tragedy, what would that look like? So it's a domestic tale that is in many ways tragic, influenced by like Medea, Euripides, and Orestes. I think are probably my favorites. I was also, Susan Laurie Parks is probably the first playwright I encountered who played with like architecture of language in a way that I found really striking. So I would say Susan Laurie Parks. And I also wanted to write like a Western. So there's a lot of different genres sort of jammed into this piece, and something that felt sort of punk in some ways in its irreverence. So yeah, in addition to like UNESCO. And Heiner Müller, I always take, whenever I'm going somewhere to write, I always take Medea material with me. It's like one of my favorite pieces. So
we'll see how that trickles into your next. You know an Aleshea secret now. I'm also so interested in both of these plays because as I was reviewing them this morning, I was thinking they're both quite plot heavy. Like they actually. I feel like they're subverting so much about theater, but they really do both have a clear story. And did you know where these plays were going to go when you started writing them? Do you always have an ending in mind? Like, what is your relationship to beginnings and endings? What do you know about a story when you're starting it, I guess?
It depends on the story. With this one, I knew how I wanted it to feel, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I knew that I wanted, in some ways, to use like the tropes, Western tropes, and some of the things that we see like in ancient Greek tragedy. But that was it. I really had to, and I knew like there were going to be twins, and but I had to find the rhythm. I had to find the bones. And once I did, though, things came pretty rapidly. But I definitely did not know how this play was going to end.
That's so surprising to me because it feels like the ending. It almost feels classical, where you're like, it can only end in this one way. So that you didn't know that is pretty. Yeah, that's really interesting. What about you?
Yeah, I'm now shifting my brain from listening to what you're saying. I feel like there's a lot of surprise that happens in the writing of it, but I feel like I know what the machine is supposed to move like. Like I feel like the first section, like what you said about it feeling a certain way, like the machine is to gallop for a little bit, and then it's going to like skid sideways and bloom a little bit, and the last part's going to be up here and over that. It's like a machine or like a little kinesthetic sculpture that you know what the motion is, but you don't know what the narrative of that is for me.
Right. So as a part of that mechanism, of course, I guess what we haven't talked about is what you know and you picture happening on stage. And I'm also curious, like you talked a little bit about the pleasure you get from the friction of the language versus what you're seeing. What do you both know about how these plays should, or you want them to look and feel in performance?
Well, it's a true experiment. I hope that it's exciting, but I don't know. Like, it really was. I'm not sure how an actor will respond to this, this word that sort of, trickles down the page. So I guess, I don't know. I don't know. There's no easy answer. I hope that there's investment. I hope that there's excitement so that the body is articulated in a way that feels right, Yeah.
That's great. No, that's really great. Thank you. Yeah.
I think that I also feel excited to see. I feel like this is a play where I really crave, need, desire the like visual genius of someone else who is not me, and for them to have some insight that will like solve all the problems that I haven't been able to solve. But I think that my sense, I feel like I know that each book 6, 7, and 8 happens in a different place or around a different like space of gathering, whether it's like a table or a little kiddie swimming pool or sort of a broken, fragmented space. And I feel like I do know that because those scenes are so short, it needs to be like, we need to be in a scene together, and then I just need to turn my head and talk to you and be in a different place and context, so that it doesn't have to be like new set coming in to show us where we are.
Totally.
Yeah.
I feel like I know that there's a way that these characters traverse a space, that it feels sort of epic and sprawling in my brain. That's one thing that I think that I know, is that there's like movement of these women like across the country, essentially. So somehow representing that poetically on stage feels important.
Totally. Yeah, the epicness of that play. That definitely seems important to convey. Do you guys, before we open it up to audience questions, do you have more questions for each other? That was my favorite question in New York that we got to talk about. Yeah.
I'm curious, Alexander, what you discovered in the creation of your play, or like what, if anything, surprised you, if you had a moment of surprise in your process or in responses to the work?
In the course of hearing it from, I feel like I have been interested and surprised in how many people feel this play to be political or uncomfortable politically, and how many people find it to be just about not political. It's been interesting to me that people respond differently.
Okay.
I've had a lot of conversations about, Dan used to be named Jokar in an early draft of the script because his Jokar Tsarnaev isn't there, and I've had a lot of conversations with people where they talked a lot about how uncomfortable, or their feelings about it, just elicited a lot from people about that act of violence, that political violence. What would you say to that question?
It's related to violence as well. I feel like I didn't understand how violent this play was until I witnessed other people's reactions to how violent the play was.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just in hearing their responses to it. And I was delighted that people think it's funny, because I think I have a weird sort of off sense of humor. So
yeah,
it's nice.
It is really funny.
Thank you.
I shared the play with some students in this class I'm teaching, and one thing that someone said was that you feel yourself sliding from this act of violence in his gut is feeling completely distanced and shocked by it to it feeling completely natural, and then remembering at the end how it was like so that your experience as a reader or viewer is I feel like that's one of the things that's so exciting about that play.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Cool. So on that note of violence, who has a question? Yes.
Actually, directly relates to violence. What draws you to the Western tropes in specific? I see so many people that I respect who love Westerns and Western genre. Personally, I find nothing to do with that.
I think two things. One is that I've had the desire since I was a child to insert myself into spaces where I didn't see a lot of black bodies. So it was just like, what if I write like a black girl, black woman Western, like what does that look like? And then also I think it's comforting that we sort of, with certain tropes, it's like a warm blanket, like you know what you're getting in a way. And I enjoy subverting the expectation, using the trope, so you think that this standoff will be this thing, right? But I'm gonna do something else with it. So it's really like just stealing the tropes to manipulate an audience.
Yes.
I'm struck by a lot of what you're saying, and because of the stage reading, thank you so much. That was such a treat for us to have so much talent brought into the play. It made your dialogue a little trickier, so I'm wanting to know who says to whom that look is, he realized the look he was getting was insignificant.
That's Julian speaking about, he's offered Dan some lotion, and it says, like, you looked at me when I offered you that lotion and said that I liked that lotion, as if I was a very trivial person.
So Dan says it to Julian?
Dan says it to Julian about a look that
right?
Julian says it to Dan about a look Dan gave Julian.
Okay, because I'd like you to riff, if you would, on what I'm feeling you're really onto, this breakdown of the visual and verbal and language, this transactional dialogue that comes with late capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talk about Fanny Howe and the disconnect of violence and mental health in society, it just really strikes a chord to what I think we're all trying to dive into right now. And you seem to really understand the mechanisms that drive it forward and how people are coming from different directions at it through, through font, through, through the visual page, through the rhythm and music of a story, not so much the scenic rendering. And just that one line, stab me, the look you give me makes me insignificant. In late capitalism, what could be stronger and what could be felt more deeply than these two guys trying to have an ethereal relationship of health. So could you explain to me kind of, and I take down all your references because I'm just really interested in what your thinking process.
Well, can you? I feel like there's so much to say on those. Can you say more about what you're or
just just riff? I mean, that's where creation. You're obviously thinking in a direction, and that's the way you're thinking, and it's so interesting. Thank you so much.
Oh no, thanks for those thoughts. I don't know where to.
Do you want to maybe talk about actually your relationship to casting and the spaces you imagine your work to be in? That might be a nice. Oh yeah. That might be. I don't know if that's.
Use the microphone.
Say what you mean by. Say what you mean.
Yeah. Well, something that Alex hasn't talked about yet that might that feels connected to this idea of less transactional dialogue and representational theater, I think, is in his ways of staging his own works too, which you won't get just from reading the text. And I actually haven't gotten to see. Oh, I haven't seen work that you've directed yourself, but I feel like this aspect of Alex's work, which you've picked up on so perceptively, really extends to how you organize and direct and think about how you direct your work too. So I think that might be one way that would be informative too, for all of us, since we won't understand that from reading your plays.
Oh gosh! So what even?
Is that over, or is that too much?
No, let's say maybe one thing, and then I'm curious. There's this feeling of I feel like when you're watching a play, there's a feeling of the play existing in front of you and the play existing in your brain, and there's the feeling of looking through the play to what it's pointing at in the world, or looking through the language to what it's pointing at in the world in terms of an implied, more elaborate narrative. And I'm really curious about whether you can. What does it mean if you almost upload the whole experience of the play to your own brain as a viewer? And so I think that sometimes casting people who don't physically resemble what the language tells us they resemble, so that there's a distance between them as sort of bodies speaking this text and what you're watching on stage, or whether there's a way of stacking sentences against each other at such an angle that you can feel the emotionality of what's going on without having to take that extra leap of the language is here, then I go off here and find the story or meaning and then bring that back and then have the emotion. Can the emotion just be in the shape of the language against itself? And I think it can, and I think that so I'm curious whether it's possible to have plays that may seem very disjointed or abstract on a certain level, and maybe don't have a reference of a clear narrative outside of themselves, but in performance feel quite emotional and human and immediate. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes.
Why did you read the passage from Dante?
Because there's a poet who I really like who I heard read, and he does that where he'll read a couple of his poems and reads from someone else, and it makes me hear his poetry differently. It makes me hear the other thing differently. And I had just got that Dante book for $4 on the street the other day and read it, and I kept reading that first page to myself over and over again. I couldn't stop reading it, and I feel like this is sort of a love story play, but it's not, because it's all projection and like obsession. And this is sort of a love story, and I wanted this like to sort of bring that feeling of like this old school courtly love into like this play, because I feel like that's the energy of it. But also, this is Dante doesn't know Beatrice, like that's him projecting. So it felt like a way of like hoping to cast some mutual light, and also it's fun to hear a different sound, I think. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Can I ask you? I was going to say, but because you also direct your work sometimes too, is that?
I do.
So would you talk about that? I'm curious to hear what you would say about those things.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I don't know. So when I direct, I'm really interested in a kind of embodiment. As I said, like the articulation of a person's form is really integral to the work. And I think there's a kind of immediacy that I want to capture that I think is captured through the language. So Toni Morrison writes about how you want to write the emotion into the line, which is what you were talking about. And somebody else writes, Susan Lori Parks as well. So I think there's a way that, I don't know, I'm trying to find like a synergy as a director between, and I don't do it very often, I have just one piece of mine that I've directed, between like what's being said and how the movement captures the action of the play.
And will you talk a little bit about your process of casting for that project? Like you were looking for something specific with all of those performers, but it wasn't that they were all professional actors. Like,
right.
Could you?
Sure. So the project in question is a ritual response to the death of Black people due to racialized violence. And so it's a real ritual that we carry out and ask the audience to participate in if they feel comfortable doing so. So I was looking for people, first of all, who were deeply connected to this. Well, they had to be it has to be carried out by African Americans or Afro-diasporic people, and they have to be deeply connected to the issues. They have to sincerely feel like there should be a ritual for when someone is killed. So I think maybe that's the specification that you're talking about, is as important as the ability to convey, to communicate, is just to really care. I mean, it's critical, I think.
Yeah, Aleshea has made this incredible piece called "What to Send Up When It Goes Down," and that was what introduced me to Aleshea's work. And I was talking to one of the actors afterwards, and he was saying that he could only perform that piece once a day because it just like took everything out of him. And I think that had to do a lot with like the people that you chose and how connected they were to those questions, because it wasn't acting. It wasn't acting.
And I think throughout the process was very clear about like, this is a real ritual. Like, we're not going to treat this like a thing that you sort of put on and take off, but like, how do you go through these actions to bring about the goals of the ritual? So I it's probably pretty fatiguing.
Yeah, but I mean, it was so generous. And both of you have been so generous today reading your own work out loud, which never happens in theater. So stick around. Sure.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, God, why can't criticism be written like elegy? And then Hilton Owls just won the Pulitzer. And I mean, The Women has got to be the best book I've ever read in my life. And if there's one necessary, writer of my generation, it would be Hilton Owls. That would be the name. So I'm just wondering, I'm seeing a lot happening in criticism right now by smart people. And I'm wondering, are you receiving this? Are you receiving this new critical voice that seems to be emerging? And what do you think about the act of elegy or the act of creation within criticism? Does that guide your work the wrong way? Or do you have feelings about critics? Do you have relationships with critics? How are you feeling about criticism?
Well, I'm friendly with Charles McNulty. He taught me at CalArts, and we go see a show together from time to time. I don't know. I mean, I appreciate critical engagement with a work that moves beyond just sort of being judgy and either saying this is good or this is bad, because I think it deepens my relationship to my own work. And I think any rigorous engagement with a performance or a dramatic text is helpful to all of us. So I think as long as it's, complex and sophisticated and interested in sort of deepening everyone's engagement with the work, then I love it. I think it's good for all of us, personally.
Yeah. I would agree. And I feel there's not much of it in the mainstream press in New York, at least, writing about theater, aside from Hilton
I
Miles
want
and
to take
maybe
this
Helen
moment
Shaw.
to give a shout out to Andy Horowitz, who's here, the founder of CultureBot, where I think most theater criticism that's really thoughtful, that's happening for experimental theater, lives. So I'm really grateful for all the work you've done, Andy, in this department. Yeah, you guys should chat afterwards. Yeah.
It is like one conversation, right?
Yeah. It's all about where the thing lives in the world, where any of this lives in the world. And, yeah.
Yeah, and audiences are, I think, a part of that, too, are an important part of that. Oh, was there one more question? Yes.
I just wanted to say how exciting it was to encounter this material for the first time in text. Because it sort of like took the best of what a novel do, and there's a kind of ownership that happens to the reader. So it made me, as much as I would run out to go see a live performance, I just got kind of possessive of it because it existed first here. And I just thought that was thrilling, and I'm really excited that it was making this.
Thanks, Roselle. Okay, well, we'll be celebrating up here, and you guys can keep asking Aleshea and Alex questions, and they'll be signing some books, so stick around. There's some wine, and thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Alex.
You've been listening to the Skylight Books author reading series. Don't forget, you can listen to this and all our other great podcasts at skylightbooks.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and we hope to see you soon.